there is an elected Democratic person who's talking about we do need somebody else challenging Joe Biden, and that's Dean Phillips. And he's articulating a lot of the same sentiments. So let's listen to what he says or what they say about him on CNN.
Now, a dare from Democratic Congressman Dean Phillips to other Democrats.
Democrats are telling me that they want not a coronation, but they want a competition. If we don't heed that call, shame on us. And the consequences, I believe, are going to be disastrous. So my call is to those who are well-positioned, well-prepared, of good character and competency, they know who they are, to jump in, because Democrats and the country need competition. It makes everything better. That's my call to them right now.
The panel is back with me. I mean, that's pretty amazing to have a sitting Democrat go out there, a House Democrat go out there. And he said he doesn't want to run, but that other Democrats should get in and run against a sitting president.
But boy, that's a can of worms that most Democrats that I talk to are afraid of opening. I mean, history will show that when a president is challenged in a primary, that is a problem for them. George H.W. Bush, Jimmy Carter, et cetera. Look, he says he doesn't want to run for president, hasn't ruled it out. Some of his fellow members, I was talking to a fellow Minnesota member who thinks that his ego has gotten a little bit inflated here because.
You notice how people who want democracy to be expanded or to express democracy, all of these adjectives they give, they'll say this is a vanity campaign about Cornel West. And it's similar to what he's saying here about this guy, Dean Phillips. Let's listen to the adjective he chooses to use.
A little bit inflated here because
his ego has gotten inflated. Because you want democracy, or you believe that there should be more democracy in the primary, that means you're you're a narcissist.
His ego has gotten a little bit inflated here because he's talking about this. Who knows? He has said early on, he's been saying for months that he thinks that the president's age is an issue and other people should be a younger infusion of people. But it's harder to actually put a campaign together than it is to talk about it. So color me skeptical.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like Representative Phillips, his sentiment about Joe Biden is being talked about loudly. Like you said, Democrats might say some things behind closed doors, but they're not, going on TV and discussing it. But I do think he is representing perhaps some anxiousness among Democrats who are a little nervous about what a Biden and Trump matchup looks like. We know from.
Yeah, so they talk very gingerly around the topic, using these words to downplay the fear, the hesitancy to have Joe Biden run again. They say talk behind closed doors, these things. So these conversations are happening, but to Nick's point earlier, like, why are these conversations, or what does it mean, or what does it say that these conversations are now being publicized?
Polling that the two seem to be in a dead heat if both are the nominee. So that is making some Democrats a little nervous, but I'm not sure if his view is widespread.
I think if Donald Trump is not the Republicans' nominee, there may be a moment when everybody in the Democratic Party goes, "Oh, shouldn't we have had a conversation about other people running?" But until that moment, I don't see it. And it is true, to the congressman's point, that a lot of Democrats say they wish they had an alternative. But when you ask them who, there's zero consensus on anyone whose numbers come close to Joe Biden.
And let's just look at what Democratic primary voters think about the notion of nominating somebody else. 64% before in July of 2022. Now it's down to 50%. But that is half.
Right.
I mean, the feeling, the sentiment, and the reality might be very different things.
I mean, I think that if this happened, what it would mean is a full-on ideological discussion about the Democratic Party. So 100%. You would have, from it's my ear fault.
So he's speaking to, if this were to happen, it will be another ideological fight, similar to what we saw in 2016 with the Bernie versus Hillary Clinton. And is the Democratic Party ready for that? I'm not sure that's what be the fight anymore, because the Bernie Sanders and the Bernie Sanders coalition has thoroughly fallen apart and have become largely NATO leftists.
Out here, you would have essentially the same arguments we saw relitigated in the 2016 and 2020 campaigns with Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden litigated in this. The Vice President Harris, would she be the front runner in this scenario? A lot of worms, and that's why people don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, and this is a great comment. They don't want democracy in democracy. Get it? Yeah, that's not the point. We're living in democracy. Just enjoy the democracy era without the process of democracy. All right, so let's move to the next video. These are all videos just showing kind of a panic mode, if you will, surrounding Joe Biden's candidacy. And here is another one. This one is very short. It's only 18 seconds, but let's listen to this one, this clip.
There's an Emerson brand new poll out of Michigan this morning that shows Trump and Biden in a key swing state dead heat. And if you add a couple third-party candidates like Cornel West, Trump is now ahead of Biden there. And that's why I wrote this week about how Democrats are already getting very anxious about the idea of some third-party candidate. There's an Emerson.
I'm going to let it loop one more time.
Brand new poll out of Michigan this morning that shows Trump and Biden in a key swing state dead heat. And if you add a couple third-party candidates like Cornel West, Trump is now ahead of Biden there. And that's why I wrote this week about how Democrats are already getting very anxious about the idea of some third-party candidate. There's an Emerson.
Very, very, very anxious. And I start that one, this one. Okay, so let's now go and get a version of this from the other side, the conservative side. Let's listen how they're covering the panic in the Democratic Party over third parties, Joe Biden's polling numbers, and just the overall chance of Joe Biden.
Some far-left Democrats are sounding the alarm about a third-party candidate, Cornel West. They're worried about him. Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says, and this is a quote, "It's very difficult to square the very real threat of a Republican presidency," adding, "West could pull enough votes handing the election to a Republican." Congressman Jim McGovern warns the stakes are too high if Trump is the nominee going against Biden. Cornel West here.
You see, when somebody chooses to vote for you, you're not pulling votes away. You see, Biden doesn't own any votes. Mm-hmm. He's got to earn it. Mm-hmm. He's got to earn it.
He's preaching, isn't he? And he's not wrong. Power panel now. Gianno Caldwell, Fox News political analyst. Jose Aristimuño, former DNC deputy press secretary. Great to see you. All right. Jose, you're up first. Your reaction to Cornel West.
Look, Harry, he's saying that President Biden should earn it. Well, look, the inflation was at 9%, it's at 3%. The stock market had its best year since 1997. So the economy is growing, 13 million jobs. So, Mr. Cornel, you want to talk about earning, the president's earning it. And we still got 460 days before the election. Things are looking up for the president.
So I said this on the Larry Sharpe show, but the indicators that the American public talks about when we're trying to gauge the health of the economy, whether it's good or bad, the markers aren't really markers that indicate the health of the economy. Because to me, the health of the economy are the many people who would have the ability to spend in an economy. But those people who have the ability to spend happen to also be workers, and whose wages are being suppressed. And then this talking point of, he's created so many jobs. Let's talk about what kind of jobs have they created. Are you talking about gig work jobs? Are you talking about minimum wage jobs? Are you talking about jobs that can sustain a family that has health care and paid vacation and paid maternity leave? Are you talking about jobs like that? No, you're not. And this is another thing that they do. I'm just pulling numbers out of the air. These aren't specific numbers. You lose 10 million jobs. Then the next year, you add 13 million jobs. So you go, he's added the most jobs ever in history, 13 million. Did he add 13 million? Because we lost 10. We got 10 million back. So he's really just added 3 million. But this is the sort of game, smoke and mirrors game that they play. And we're seeing it played out right here with this first guest they have on Fox News, trying to pretend as if Joe Biden is doing well and his economy is doing well.
Stock market had its best year since 1990.
The stock market has nothing to do. The stock market, 14% of Americans either own the majority of stock or control the stock. 14, I can't remember, 14 or 16%, a very small amount. Own the majority of stock and control the majority of stock, not our 401ks.
97. So the economy is growing, 13 million jobs. So, Mr. Cornell, we want to talk about earning. The president's earning it, and we still got 460 days before the election. Things are looking up for the president.
So here's the problem with shouting into the TV, and you know I love you. If it were actually the president having to do it, he's talking to somebody who really shouldn't even be a problem for him. For all the things that Jose said, the bottom line is that people don't feel what Jose's talking about.
Well, that's true, Harrison. Let me be unequivocally clear here. Black lives for many Democrats don't matter. Black votes do, and that's been the case decade after decade. The White House, through the Washington Post, just put out a piece very recently that they're concerned about black voters, and they should be. Fox News research put out some information just yesterday showing that in 2020, black support for Democrats was at 91%. It's now dropped down to 63%. And that is a concern for them, especially among black.
Whoa, I didn't know it had dropped that low. So I would be curious to see what numbers he's referencing, but 63%, there is literally no way they can win. They can't win if it falls below 80%. I think 80 some odd percent, they can't win. Like even in the low 80s, they cannot win an election. That's how much they're dependent on the black vote for their coalition.
Men, because they fail.
Let me respond really quickly.
Bamboozled by the Democratic Party and Joe Biden's presidency.
All right, go ahead, Jose.
No third party, and I'm not going to shout. No third party candidate has won the presidency. No, I know. No third party candidate has won the presidency ever. Number one, in the last 100 years, no third party candidate has won.
Let me stop you right there, because there's something my team put together, and I want you to see it. Okay, a Hill op-ed lays out the third party candidates that changed history, pointing out that at least 4 presidential elections since 1900, a third party candidate attracted enough votes to arguably change the outcome. Teddy Roosevelt, 1912, Ross Perot, 1992, Ralph Nader, 2000, Gary Johnson, and Jill Stein in 2016. 2 of those losses Democrats, 2 to Republicans. So, Shano, I'm going to come back to you for your thoughts. We'll move on.
Yeah. Well, no, I think that this could actually impact the race, considering the fact that Cornel West is a very respected African-American who's saying that he's going to run. And there's a lot of people that believe in his ideas, and they just despise Joe Biden. We see that in the approval numbers, and they want another option. They may not vote for a Republican, but they may vote for him.
Yeah, so so you see the coverage from the conservative side, Fox News, and it's very funny that the people who's pushing this are all people of color in this segment on Fox News, but they're covering it in the same sort of way, but they covering it with a gleeful smile on their face that they're seeing what's happening to Joe Biden.